Hey y'all. Welcome to my DEF CON Voting Village Explainer for my session titled Truly Maligned: How Disinformation Targets Minority Communities to Create Voter Suppression. I'm Nicole Tisdale. I want to take a few minutes to talk about a very important topic that you probably already heard about: disinformation. But before I get started with that, it's important for you to know who I am and why I'm discussing this topic. A quick note about format. I'm going to spend some time explaining and defining some of the words and phrases I use. My goal is to share information with you in simple terms so that you don't feel small or get overwhelmed. I'm a black woman and I'm an attorney, originally from Mississippi. Yes, you're going to hear my accent soon. I've been working in Washington, D.C. for about 13 years. I recently finished serving as a government official at the United States White House. While there, I worked on the President's National Security Council, which we call the NSC for short. There are plenty of other videos, books, and articles about the NSC, but to put it simply, the NSC advises the President on matters of national security, which includes foreign policy and domestic policy. I was Director for Legislative Affairs, which means I advocated for the President's national security policies in front of the U.S. Congress. I worked on a lot of issues, but my major issues were cybersecurity, counterintelligence, and election security. Counterintelligence is a long word that means I focused on stopping or preventing spying or sabotage from foreign entities and governments. Before serving at the White House, I actually worked in Congress for 10 years. A quick refresher: the U.S. Congress is divided into two sides, the House of Representatives and the Senate. I worked in the House of Representatives for the Committee on Homeland Security. There, I was also director, focusing again on cybersecurity, counterintelligence, and election security. So basically, when it comes to cybersecurity, counterintelligence, and elections, I know my stuff. And I want to make sure you know some stuff too. Have you read or heard about people discussing eliminating early voting, denying mail-in ballots, complicating voter ID laws, closing polling places, and removing voters from voting rolls? All of these are examples of voter suppression, but a less discussed element of the same tactic is called voter depression. Voter depression negatively affects how we feel, the way we think, and how we act when it comes to voting and participating in democracy. Disinformation fuels voter depression and targets minority communities. I'm going to discuss how political disinformation in the U.S. has been collected and disseminated by foreign and domestic actors via technology and social media platforms in order to depress voting and civic participation. I will focus specifically on how election disinformation targets minority communities, especially black communities, by leveraging real, unaddressed issues and grievances of racism and inequality. I will also share how the cyber community can help warn, defend, and empower minority communities to fight disinformation. Let's center this discussion on a real case of disinformation in the black community. In 2014, the weekend before Father's Day, the hashtag #EndFathersDay started making its way around Twitter. These crazy tweets were all over the place, all claiming to be the thoughts and language of black feminists. There was one problem though. No one from the actual black feminist community knew who these hashtag #EndFathersDay feminists were or why all of their accounts were new. So black women began doing the work to identify and call out the accounts to expose them as fake accounts and bad actors. They created their own hashtag #YourSlipIsShowing, to help the black community tag the fake accounts and warn others. That's what I want the DEF CON community to do. Help minority communities by exposing all kinds of disinformation that will be circulating as we move closer and closer to the November elections in the U.S. This community knows all about authenticating accounts, but you know so much more too. This community can help us identify manipulated media, whether it is manipulated audio or video. Help us identify cheap fakes and deep fakes before they spread. What are the tools that can help us authenticate these items, and how can we do it quickly? How do we get the information to minority communities once we know it's fake? Also, we know that forgeries have been used to stoke real emotions that the minority communities feel toward unaddressed issues of racism, classism, and sexism. We also know that forgeries can be packed with authentic content to make the forged documents seem credible. So, what are the markers that can be used to identify forgeries? A third example of inauthentic content used to spread disinformation in minority communities are proxy or fake websites. We know that these websites can pose as news or information sites because they want to take advantage of the public's desire for information. We know that these sites were not developed to provide authentic information, and this community can help us track down the origins of these types of sites. We need your help, and the DEF CON community has a particular set of skills that can be used to be very useful in stopping election disinformation before it gets off the ground. And before I close, I want to be clear, I'm not asking this community. I want to be clear about what I'm not asking this community to do, because this is really important that I get this right. Unfortunately, a lot of current efforts in countering disinformation in minority communities isn't meant to empower us. Don't try to become truth tellers in minority communities. Your job is not to analyze the disinformation and make minority communities, quote, get it. First of all, that's offensive. Second, it's demeaning. I'm asking you to use the skills you have, the knowledge you've gained, to help communities you may never meet or know address issues that you may never understand. What I'm asking you to do is what you do best so that you can help save democracy. I know this talk was a little bit of a teaser, so I hope to see you at the DEF CON Voting Village so we can figure out the details of all of this. In the meantime, you can follow me online at Hi Nicole Tisdale. There, I'll share more information about the hashtag Your Slip is Showing counter disinformation campaign. Keep the faith, y'all.